What is going on? I want to welcome you from Half Court for today, August 3rd, year of our Lord 2022. I am your host, Sean Murphy, alongside, as usual, per usual, my guy, Jeff Iafrady. Jeff, how's it going, brother? Happy
Oh, it's
August
going
to
good.
you.
Oh, happy August to you guys as well, man. It's going by fast. Like I was talking to Sean about this the other day. I feel like we were at the draft. We spent all this time covering the players, doing deep dives on our YouTube channel, which you can still go check out. And then now it's August. Like I'm excited for basketball to be back, man. I couldn't be even more thrilled.
Yeah, man. It feels like just yesterday we were waiting for the summer league to get here. And then
Yeah.
now we're almost a month past it. That's way behind us. And now we're a month away from training camp already, which is absolutely surreal. But not only am I joined by Jeff Iafrady, but we are joined by the Marquette Dirk Nowitzki himself, but also the birthday boy, the birthday Troy Sergey. Troy, happy birthday to you, my friend.
Yes, thank you, Sean. 24 years old, pretty crazy. Man, same distance from my 18th birthday till today is the same distance from today until my 30th birthday. So that's comforting to know.
You old rat bastard.
Yeah. No, training training camp. Yeah, you're right. A month and a half away. I'm getting sick of the little Jamal Crawford highlight video tournament and the basketball tournament going on. I'm ready for some NBA, and heck, I'd rather take college basketball over this stuff. So,
hey,
bring on the season.
I will say, all right, the basketball tournament, unwatchable. Listen, all these Euro League guys that are going out there trying to get this money, all respect in the world, unwatchable. But some of these pro-ams that have been happening over the weekend have actually been pretty fun, Troy, because I'm not sure if you saw, but on Saturday, so Jamal Crawford's pro-am league has been going on, and they got a lot of stars to show out just this weekend alone. They had on Saturday, they had Chet Holmgren and Paolo Banchero team up. Paolo went for 59 and Chet went for 34, 10, and 8.
Hey, Jay McDaniels. Jay McDaniels had another 50
chat stat line. I did see the chat stat line, yes.
Yeah. And then the next day they had DeJounte Murray, Trae Young, and John Collins all team up in the Pro-Am League as well. So even though obviously I'm with you in the sense of I'm just ready for some real basketball, not only the fact that these Pro-Am games are happening, but also that they're streamable on League Pass has been a godsend, because it means that there's been something to watch. Granted, there's guys that played for Illinois Tech back back in 2010 or something. It's there's amateurs, it's pro-am, but I mean, listen, man, it's
hoop is hoop.
Yeah, it's fun to sink your teeth into, Jeff, I told you a little bit about that. Did you get your chance to watch any of it at all? What did you think of the highlights you saw at the very least?
I mean, I watched it and I loved it, but another thing you have to keep in mind as well, it's the center that Chet was going up against, dude, was 6'8", so or 6'9", but the actual skill, to make a shot, you have to make a shot. I'm not going to criticize these guys. Paolo Banchero, automatic. I mean, that guy's a bucket. We've been saying this even before the draft. And then Chet, felt like he was playing with all his little brothers. He was packing everybody. Yeah. So I enjoy watching it, despite the talent level being significantly less.
Yeah, Paolo was the one I was the most impressed by, just because he's kind of like you said, it's with Chet, it's well, center's not really his size, but there's still times where he's kind of getting physically dominated.
His shot making, Chet's shot making. I mean, listen, I get it. It's the competition level isn't there, but dude, they're both skilled.
Yeah, they're both insanely skilled, but Paolo, just how effortless of a 59 it was. Even a pro-am, it was just oh my gosh, man!
It was Troy rookie mode, man. He was just pulling up.
Yeah, Troy, do you think the Carmelo Anthony comparison for Paolo's fair? Do you see that at all in his game?
It's fair. I see a little bit, but like we talked about before the stream started, recording started, I think we're in a new era too of prospects where it's hard to pinpoint current prospects to the past. I just feel like
Yeah.
the game is evolving so much that I wouldn't say Carmelo is his best comparison, but I think it's a good start.
And also, just to add to that too, I was watching Paolo and watching him, especially in that pro-am. Like, guys nowadays, especially like someone like Paolo, like he played football as well. Like, guys are playing multiple sports, so they're so like Paolo's a really great passer, and a lot of that has to do with the fact high school quarterback. So like back then, Carmelo knew what he was. Like, he's athletic, he was crazy, but back then, like nowadays, players are just much more developed. Like you have to be almost complete. Most players coming into the league, so it's amazing to watch these guys, man.
One thing that was impressive about Paolo in summer league specifically, I don't know if I ever saw this Apollo at Duke, but it seemed like now that he was the number 1 pick, it seems like he was carrying himself like he was a franchise quarterback. Like specifically, like if he made a mistake, he would react like how a franchise quarterback would react if he like missed a pass. You know, like he would hold himself to that type of standard. He would communicate to his guys like it was an offensive line that they needed to like protect the pass rush. Like it was honestly like, you could see those shades of the high school quarterback coming throughout the summer league. I was like, man, this guy's intense. He plays basketball like a quarterback.
That's what makes him the number 1 overall pick. It's it's more than just his skill set. It's the leadership ability. And Paolo has that. So kudos to him. I'm excited to watch him in the league, man. He's going to tear it up.
Yeah, definitely. Well, today, guys, we're going to be doing something a little bit different for the podcast. This is going to be for the audio listeners. We will be going through and ranking all of the NBA teams and predicting where they're going to end up and what ultimately we think of these teams based off of what they've done this summer. So specifically, the tiers that we're going to be ranking people in, I have 5 tiers. And the tiers are going to be contenders, high seed, mid, play-in, and going for Victor. And when I say going for Victor, I mean Victor Wembanyama, because they're not going for victory. They're going for Victor.
Now, Sean, I think we should do this kind of how we did the All-Star game vote, where we got 3 guys here, unanimous 2-1. Is what gets on the board. Is that what you were thinking too?
Yeah, I'm thinking we vote ultimately. Yeah, ultimately we'll vote. We'll say where we think they land, and if we have to compromise and go in the middle, we can. But I think for the most part, I think we all kind of view the league in a very similar way. So I'm curious to see where we're going to differ. But I think let's just go in order of where they have them, because I think specifically, like kind of. As we're talking about this, I think this is a good way to like kind of recap everything that we've seen in the off season, but also kind of predict of what's to come. So with that, let's start the Philadelphia 76ers. I think they might have had one of the best off seasons in the league. I was very critical of them at the trade deadline. I think we all thought that James Harden was going to demand a supermax contract, but the fact that not only he's taking less money, but in addition, he was taking less money so that they could go add guys like PJ Tucker to the mix. And this is a team all of a sudden that adds that much more depth. All the footage I've seen of James Harden and everything I've seen out of him this summer has not been in the clubs, but rather have been in the gym. And he actually looks really thin right now. So at least from what I've seen, which from summer James Harden, I mean, what we've seen over the last couple of years, I know that's something that has been a point of criticism. I mean, Kevin Durant reportedly was not thrilled with how he came into training camp. So with that, guys, where do you think the Philadelphia 76ers rank on this list? And why is it contenders? I'm going to stop spoiling it.
It's contender because of a guy you haven't talked about, Joel Embiid. I think he's going to be coming back even stronger than what he has before. And I think with Embiid, we made a great case for a potential MVP candidate this past year. I'm high on Embiid. They're a contender because of him. Harden makes them that much better. They were a team that they easily could have. They didn't, but they could have easily at one point, I think probably end of March, gone on a 10-game winning streak. They just had the talent to do so. And then you add pieces like Tucker, they're contenders, Sean.
Yeah, I agree with you, Troy. I think the reason why I bring up the point of James Harden is because this team was awesome already with Joel
Mhm.
Embiid, right?
Right.
But they needed that superstar, that second guy that could take this team over the top and to the next level. And James Harden, ever since he's been in the Philadelphia 76ers uniform, hasn't been that. But Jeff, what are your thoughts? Do you think they're contenders as well? Where do you have them?
I love the roster itself. The only pushback I would say, and this roster's talented enough to get there, and I agree with Troy, and I know you were thinking it, Sean, you just didn't bring it up, was Joel Embiid. That's like the reason also I'm going with, and I would lean contender. But picking a team with James Harden, and there's been seasons where he's been in shape and he still has struggled. But again, Joel is that good. And I think if they can work together, they were good enough to beat Miami. It was more just up here. So, who knows? I think they can overcome it, but no doubt, talent wise, they're contenders.
Do you think roster wise, like, because when I think of contender, I would say, all right, in my opinion, if you're just being solely off of the rosters, who's a top 2, top 3 team in a conference?
Yeah.
Right.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
I would say right now, if you're just going solely off paper, this should be the best roster in the Eastern Conference. Is that fair to say?
Should be. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair to say.
Yeah,
It's the
that's
best
fair to
2K team. It's the best 2K
Yeah.
team, right?
Especially
Yeah.
with Maxey, the rise of Maxey, he's going to get even better. So
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's again, this is different too, and it's different than past years with James Harden because he's never been like back then. It's like, all right, it's James or bust. Like if we're riding the coattails of James Harden, it feels like with Philly, like James doesn't have to be the guy. Like you have Maxey and Joel Embiid, but just the benefit of having a guy like James Harden, who if he ever does figure it out late in the postseason, this team is good enough, and they're one of the best teams, if not the best team in the East. So I'm agreeing with you guys, the contenders.
For sure. Now, guys, I don't think this is much of a conversation. The Washington Wizards. I think talent wise, I think they're going for Victor. However, I think more realistically, I mean, if you look at Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis,
Yeah.
I think this is a team that's going to be contending for the play-in. I don't think they're going to get in the play-in, but I think that's their goal. So if I were to say like talent-wise, like on paper, this team should not be going for Victor Wembanyama with Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis, especially after that Supermax. So I feel like at least they're going to be a play-in. What are your guys' thoughts?
It's a hard one because, like you said, Sean, the roster is good enough to not be a lottery team, or at least not a bottom, 11, 12, 13, 14, or 15 seed. But we have not seen this Wizards team succeed apart from the 2017 years with John Wall and Beal playing together. And it's just such a different team now. And I really don't know how much Porzingis can help that team because we don't really know his health either. So
when's he on the court? Like that's my question.
Right.
Like,
so I'm actually going to probably vote for going for Victor.
That's fair.
You got a 2-1 split. I'm going play-in. I don't think this team is that bad. Listen, they're not great, or they're not. I wouldn't even say they're good, but I think Bradley Beal, and this is given talent. I don't want to say this guy won't be healthy. This guy will be healthy. Just on paper, Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis, like that, in a plethora of other players as well, like all kinds of talent. Even Johnny Davis they added this year in the draft, which I think will be decent. They got some pieces over there, and I love Wes Unseld Jr. too. Like he's a good head coach. I think he gets. The Wizards were really bad mid-season, and they went on this like 500 run where they won a lot of games. Now they're not a great roster, but good coaching can overcome that. I think Wes Unseld, I have enough confidence he'll get them in the play-in or contend for the play-in. I don't think they're going for Victor, but if there's injuries, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I will say, looking at Kristaps Porzingis and his health history throughout his career, hasn't played over 60 games since his sophomore season back in 2016, 2017, and then he tore his ACL the next year. And so, it's kind of like you don't really know how much you're getting of him. I mean, if he's healthy, if he's available, if he only misses 15, 20 games, and like that's not a terrible thing. But I mean, this is a team that they're not in the position of luxury to go for Victor because they have a superstar with a no trade clause. So literally all the power in the world. So they better
Kuzma
make the
too.
play
We
in.
forgot about Kuzma.
I was gonna say they have Hachimura and Kuzma. Like they have decent pieces. Like I like the pieces they have in Washington. Now who knows what they'll do with it, but I think they're good enough to be in the play-in. Considering who else is in the East, there's probably a couple other teams you could put down there.
Yeah. Speaking of a team that was in the play-in this last year, a team that was very active in the offseason this year, the Atlanta Hawks. This is a team that, made the Eastern Conference Finals a year and a half ago, and now finds themselves in a position where they made some pretty significant roster overhaul and changes. They brought in DeJounte Murray. They shipped out Kevin Huerter. They now will have a big three of DeJounte Murray, John Collins, and Trae Young. I know at one point John Collins wanted out. However, since he was playing in programs with Trae and DeJounte, it seems to me like that new roster might have him considering staying around for a little bit. So with that, what are your guys' thoughts on what the Atlanta Hawks did this offseason? And with that, where does that put them in the total landscape of the league?
I think Murray helps them, guys. I really do. I think I don't know if you can compare this team with last team just because of how much influence Murray has on the court, inside and out, on defense and in offense. And I just feel like a 6 seed is a fair number. And if you're a 6 seed, you're not a play-in team. You are a playoff team. That's why I'm gonna have to go mid, guys.
Yeah, I would honestly, I like Atlanta a lot. Like I think Clint Capella, you have John Collins, you have great guys like DeAndre Hunter as well. Like I like the core they have, and especially last year, John Collins was suspended for a chunk of those games. So it's hard. Last year is just kind of throw that in the garbage. I think we'll see a similar type roster to when they went on that run with Trae Young, but this time you have DeJounte Murray, which I think will be a nice fit. I would say they're mid. But I wouldn't be surprised if Atlanta wins quite a few games this year.
I'm with you guys as well. I'm putting them in mid. I think they could be a high seed. I think they have the talent to be a high seed. I think this is a team that, had the talent to be better than they were last year. But that's kind of the thing. They've kind of come out the last few years with disappointing starts. And yes, they come back around in the second half and turn it around. And now maybe have someone that can help Trae Young with playing more off ball and setting him up for easier shots and better, opportunities on the offensive end. But I mean, team wise, they just need to be better defensively. They still got to figure out what in the heck they're doing with Clint Capella. I think they have a lot of different decisions they still need to make. And I don't know if their roster's done. However, I think overall right now, they definitely should be better than they were last year. That's for sure. So I think going a tier above is a pretty good place to put them. Speaking of a team that had a surgence in the Eastern Conference last year, the Cleveland Cavaliers with Evan Mobley and Ricky Rubio coming back, and they have Karis LeVert and they have Darius Garland, and they potentially might also still have Colin Sexton this year as well. So this is a team that I think could be pretty dangerous this year. Now, obviously, we saw once the health issues started to hit for this team, once Jared Allen was on the sidelines and it was Evan Mobley kind of having to take those individual, paint protection responsibilities. He played well, but obviously not as well when you have Jared Allen on your back line. So this team ultimately missed the play-in tournament this last year. But
they were in the play-in. They missed the playoffs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They slipped to the play-in and they lost. I think they did lose 2 games, right? They played. Right. Yeah, they played 2 games.
Brooklyn and Atlanta.
That's right. Yep, that's right. Thank you. So even though they made the play-in, they slipped to the play-in at the end of the year. They didn't make the playoffs. Is this a team that you think could ride that same momentum that they had last year? Do you think this is a team that could be a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference? Or do you think this is a team that is probably still going to be in that play-in, and that the second half of the season was a little bit more of a reality of who this team really is?
I said the Atlanta Hawks were a 6th seed, and that's why I put them in the mid. And I would say the Cleveland Cavaliers, honestly, guys, I'm going to say a 5th seed. So I'm going to also put that in the mid.
Whoa!
Because, listen, Darius Garland had a coming out year. Watch out for Darius Garland. Mobley is going to have a second year that I think is also going to be more of a coming out party than we saw this year. You pair him with a guy like LeVert and Allen. Now, theoretically, this is if they stay healthy. So I am going bold, but I am going bold because I think they will stay healthy. I just feel like that roster, again, I'm not talking a 3rd seed or a 4th seed, but I think a good solid 5th seed, you still don't get home court advantage for playoffs.
Right.
But I still think that this team is better than what we expect. Well, they're certainly better than we expected last year. And even a guy like Lauri Markkanen, I think, plays well. So Cleveland, I'm going 5th seed. So 5th means mid.
Man, I like it. Jeff, what about you, man? Where are you at?
So I'm in the same ballpark as Troy. I would say mid, although because if I think about it, I like Atlanta better, and I have them mid. So just by doing that math, it's either play-in or I don't think they'll be a play-in team. I think they're talented enough to, like Troy said, to be in that mid area. So I'm sticking with mid.
That's fair. I'm going to go with mid. Here's what we're going to do on these tiers. Now that we're kind of going through and figuring this out together, we'll also within the tier rank teams on where we think they're going to be. So since I also think they're mid, and if I had to pick between the two, I would say Cleveland would be a 6th seed. I'm going to put Cleveland behind Atlanta in the mid.
Yeah. So you and Jeff on the same page. I mix them around, but the vote, you guys win the vote. So
but listen, Troy, but here's the thing. I could see your scenario playing out because I think
they're close.
Yeah, because I think on paper, like if these teams are in a matchup, I think it'd be a bad matchup for the Hawks. But in addition, I think one thing that I think Cleveland might have more set down impact, even though I think Atlanta might be a more explosive offensive team, I think Cleveland's a way better defensive team.
And listen, Cleveland, I'm gonna be honest, Cleveland doesn't have Trae Young. Like that's the thing that separates it.
Darius Garland's a bucket, but he's not Trae Young.
Yes, and that's
Trae
the
Young
difference.
Scoring wise can be the freaking nuclear code.
Yes, like he is. Yeah, there's a different level. I love Darius Garland, but yeah, I'm going simply because I love Trae Young so much.
Yeah.
Do we want to go here for so early on, or do we want to go with the Detroit Pistons last?
Yeah, let's save them for last. Let's save them for. That's how we keep the viewers in. That's how we keep the viewers. That's why we go. That's why we go next. We're just gonna do this, right? Like, I'm sorry, but like, come on, come on.
Yeah,
it's a good roster. And Troy, I know you're excited. I know you're gonna be there. And didn't you get like quarter season tickets?
Quarter season tickets, yep.
Yep, that's awesome. So you're going to see Halliburton, Benedict Mathurin. You're going to see a really fun young roster. You're going to see them lose a hell of a lot of games with that quarter season package, brother.
Hey man, I'm there. I'm not there to see the Pacers. I'm going there to see who the Pacers are playing. You know, if I can see the Nuggets play, see Joker, see Luka. Those are the games that I'm looking to see.
Hey, there you go. For some time, I was doing the same thing here. So
right.
I mean, hey, but I mean, you're getting them even cheaper than they could ever be in Detroit. Because like, I'm telling you, I'm serious. I looked at Pacers tickets. I feel like you could sit courtside for like a freaking ice cream cone at Dairy Queen. It's kind of unreal some of the prices they have. But anyway, yeah, I mean, listen, this is a franchise that is finally starting to rebuild. They realized that they needed to rebuild. And as awesome as Tyrese Halliburton and Benedict Mathurin are, if they can add Victor Wembanyama to their core and put Victor around Tyrese and Benedict Mathurin, that's a squad.
Maybe we're talking playing next year then. Yeah. Next year, as in 2023, 2024.
But they're where they're at is where Detroit was at last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're a year behind Detroit in the process.
Yeah.
Now, another team going for Victor Wembanyama, the Milwaukee Bucks. No, I'm kidding. Guys, this is another contender. I mean, flat out, they kept their roster together.
Yeah.
If Chris Middleton was healthy, you can make the argument that they go back to the finals.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would say if I were to rank them right now, I personally would go Milwaukee above Philly, because I currently, spoiler alert, believe that if Chris Middleton and Giannis Antetokounmpo are both healthy, I believe that is the team to beat in the Eastern Conference until proven otherwise.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like my Trae Young argument. Like Milwaukee has Giannis. Like that. Period. Like that's kind of how I feel.
It's kind of like, like everything else you could say is cool, but like they have Giannis Like
Yeah,
Joel Embiid is awesome.
he's great.
James Harden, all-time maestro. They ain't Giannis.
Right. And I think
just,
Giannis just makes, you can't compare those guys to him because he's the Greek freak, right? He's a freak of nature in how he plays the game of basketball in itself. And I think we've talked about prospects coming up. We want guys like Giannis to come up. We want to see more Giannis's in the future. But as of right now, there's only one Giannis, guys. So he makes a difference for me. You put a healthy Middleton in there, even the way that guys like Pat Connaughton and Drew Holiday have played. Above Philadelphia for sure. The best team we've talked about yet.
Yeah. Milwaukee is, they can be flat out terrifying. And I mean, Giannis's finals performance, I mean, I still don't think gets enough recognition for that closeout game that he had where it was 50 plus points. It was a 50-point closeout game, 14 rebounds. Like the guy was literally all over the court, was doing everything for his team. So, he, in my opinion, he's the consensus best player in the world, and they kept their roster together. That continuity, that culture that they have. But in addition to bring in a guy like Joe Ingles, if he's healthy, man, that's a team that can be scary.
Yeah.
Toronto, I think, is another team that could be pretty fun and interesting this year. They snuck in to the playoffs last year, but currently they're still in the Kevin Durant sweepstakes. They have Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby could be moved at any time, but guys, I mean, Toronto's kind of a hard team to predict. I mean, because you could see them in a scenario where they're in the play-in tournament. You could see a scenario where this is a top 4 seed in the conference. Like that's the Toronto Raptors in a nutshell.
I'm still gonna go with, this is hard. You guys might very much disagree with me, but I still view Atlanta and Cleveland above them as of roster wise. They're certainly way better than Washington, but I'm gonna probably put them at a 7th seed. So I'm gonna have to probably do play in, guys.
Wow. All right. That's fair. Jeff, where are you at?
This one's tough. I think they'll be better than what Troy said. Although I agree with you, Troy, this one's tough. Like I could imagine a scenario where they're in the play-in as well, especially being a 7th seed. But I'm gonna go mid. I just because Nick Nurse, especially, they have depth. Number one, they have a lot of versatility, and they have Scotty Barnes, who is getting better. Same with Evan Mobley. This is kind of the argument I would use as well, and I like Scotty a lot. And I just think Nick Nurse, too, he always finds a way. I know last year was weird, but in general, going forward, I think he'll continue his success he's seen in the regular season. I don't think he'll win 60 games, but I could see him being if you have Atlanta at 4, Cleveland at 5, and you have, Raptors at 6. I could see that as well. So I'm going to go mid.
Yeah.
But if you disagree, I would not be mad. They're a tough team to call.
Yeah, it's tough because it seems like relatively health-wise this last year that they had a pretty decent luck and pretty good fortune health-wise throughout the season, right? And the thing that was so interesting about how they went about it was that it was a short rotation, like all year long, and they just ran their guys to hell.
Yeah, I think it's crazy, and they got more depth than that. So I don't know why. Maybe that's a Nick Nurse thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at their starting 5 from this last year, Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam both averaged 38 minutes a game. OG Anunoby, 36 minutes a game. Scotty Barnes in his rookie year, 35.4 minutes per game. So
that's an argument that, you might have some weaker bones next year just by mathematics, one of those guys being injured.
That's why I'm going play-in, because if they go with this strategy again, which don't get me wrong, like if it works and these guys are healthy, I could see them being as high as a 4th seed in the Eastern Conference because of their talent, because of what they have. If OG Anunoby continues to improve, if Pascal Siakam was the guy that we saw in the playoffs last year, if Fred VanVleet continues to play at all-star caliber levels, but then also Scotty Barnes, rookie of the year. Listen, I understand we don't think he's as good as Cade, he's still pretty damn good. And if he improves and is better than what he was next year, they could definitely get up there. However, I think that we're going to see him play at a similar level, a little bit better than his rookie year. I think to ask that kind of workload on Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam, who have both had injury issues in the past, I just think it's asking a lot. So I'm going to be conservative. I'm going to go with the play-in. With these teams, I'm comfortable that even if they have a guy go out, that things are going to be okay. Whereas like with Toronto, like, yes, they do have a system and they always have young guys that you don't expect that step up. However, I mean, if Pascal Siakam's not in that lineup, to me, it's chalked, right? So like if Fred VanVleet's not in that lineup, to me, it's chalked. Like that's just the way it is. So there's very little room for error there. Now, the Dallas Mavericks. This is an interesting one because they had a really bad offseason. Like, just straight up losing Jalen Brunson for nothing. And you bring in Christian Wood. You sign JaVale McGee. And now you're kind of in this spot where, you know, Spencer Dinwiddie, in order to be as good as you were last year, Spencer Dinwiddie has to be awesome. And even though Spencer Dinwiddie was really good when he got traded to Dallas, he was also traded to Dallas from a team that literally just didn't want him, reportedly. Granted, that team was the Wizards, but still. This is a situation where, to me, if I'm voting personally, I'm going to say Dallas is a high seed. I think they're a team that can be, you know, really solid in the Western Conference, be like somewhere high up towards the middle, upper echelon of the West. Ultimately, I don't think they're contending when push comes to shove.
Yeah, I think making it to the Western Conference Finals was is a big argument to at least put them in the high seed over mid, the way we saw Luka play. But you put yourself in the Dallas Mavericks franchise. I just feel like at this point in Luka's career, what is this, year 5 now? You gotta put surrounding pieces, man. Christian Wood is not gonna cut it. I'm very
Dallas
disappointed with
historically, as a franchise, has struggled to put pieces around their stars consistently. I mean, that's why we only saw Dirk win one championship, right?
Right.
So
I'm also gonna have to say high seed, Sean, but it's gonna be like the 4th seed. So
yeah, I agree with that. What about you, Jeff? What do you think?
This one's tough, and Troy hit on a lot of. You both hit on a lot of good points too. I think with Dallas, with Luka and the run they went on in the postseason, it was impressive. It was, but a lot of that had to do with Jalen Brunson and Luka playing at an all-time high level. So you lost Jalen Brunson, and now you're relying on Luka even more. Hopefully, God forbid, he has to stay healthy. I would lean mid, but again, considering what Luka, how special he is, I mean, it is the West. The East is much more tougher in terms of strength. All the teams listed up, all the contenders. So I'm not going to disagree with you guys. I mean, high seed, I'm cool with it as well.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, the Denver Nuggets, a team that last year was still in the playoffs, was not a play-in team, despite missing a majority of their core last year. Nikola Jokic has yet another MVP caliber season, and he deserved it, by the way. I mean, he was awesome. And then now you have guys like Bones Highland that are rising up in the ranks. You go and sign Bruce Brown this last year. Aaron
KCP.
Gordon. Aaron Gordon is coming back. You know, if they can get Michael Porter Jr. back on the court feeling healthy. And then in addition, they have Jamal Murray coming back this year too. And if he's even like 80-90% of what he was, that guy was a stud. This is a team I could make a case I could put in contender status, but I'm going to go, for me, I would go high seed. Jeff, what are your thoughts?
I agree. I think they're a high seed, although, you know, even in the postseason, the Denver Nuggets, they've looked scary at times. I mean, they've made some runs, even with the current core with Jamal Murray. These guys play even better in the postseason, but regular season, I like the team. I like the roster. It's about staying healthy. But again, if we're just going talent, of course, I'm going high seed.
I see him as a 3rd seed. So yeah, definitely high seed,
Yeah.
especially if they can get Porter back. I think he makes definitely the big difference. But I enjoyed Bones Highland this year too. I think he had a good season, and I can only see him getting better along with Murray. So yeah, I mean the Joker is going to be the Joker. So I just feel like you're not really going to go. You're certainly not going to be lower than Dallas. So
if I were to decide between these two, to me it comes down to which team do I have a harder time seeing lifting up the Larry O'Brien trophy at the end of the season, and I just don't see Dallas doing it. I see them being a high seed. Like if Jokic was holding that trophy, I wouldn't be shocked just because of who he is as a player. So, I mean, Denver's definitely got to be up there. Memphis. Guys, I'll just start. I mean, Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane. This is a team that, even though they only made it to the second round this last year, without Ja Morant in the lineup, pushed the Golden State Warriors to their limits. And I would say put up the best fight against the Warriors throughout the entire playoffs, including the Boston Celtics.
Yes.
I would say if Ja Morant stays healthy, if the rest of their core stays healthy, they're in a prime position to where they could go out and they could, in theory, trade for anyone they want to pair alongside Ja. But they're also in this position where they have an awesome core. They draft really well. Their salary cap situation is flexible. But guys, this is a team that I think could make it to the Western Conference Finals this year. I really do.
Yeah, I'm with you, Sean. Now it's hard where I would put the seeds because we have the Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns still on the board that we haven't, put on this tier yet. I want to say a 2nd seed in the West. And I certainly want you to put that a little more to the left over the Philadelphia 76ers because I'm going to go that bold with this team. Because Desmond Bane, guys, Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. have already proven themselves already that they can play with Ja Morant as kind of his 2 and 3 sidekicks. Dylan Brooks to another great one. I see this team honestly getting better than what they were last year.
All right, so let me get this straight. If you were to see a Memphis Grizzlies, Philadelphia 76ers finals, and both teams are at the apex of what they can be doing,
that makes it a little harder. That makes it harder, Sean. I guess I'm thinking more regular season than playoffs.
That's fair.
That I don't think I can say that they're better than the Sixers for finals matchup.
But I'm like, when I'm saying contender, I'm meaning like we're talking like what we think is gonna happen, like where we think ultimately, I guess like putting a best prediction now. So maybe it's a little unfair to put that on you.
Yeah. I definitely want them in contender, Sean, but I just don't know about a Sixers Grizzlies matchup of who would win that.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, maybe that was a little unfair, but would you still put them above Philly?
If you would, I would.
Okay, Jeff, what about you? He's like mid.
No, listen, I like Memphis, but until they get a co-star next to Ja Morant, that's the difference. Like I love the elite role player route. You got a lot of good guys, Jaren Jackson.
Do you think
Dylan Brooks.
Jaren Jackson can be that co-star?
He could. Now, is he? No, I don't think so. A co-star is somebody that, you could go out and in a playoff game. If Ja Morant's struggling, Jaren Jackson could put up 30 for you and bring you home. I don't know if they have that right now. I would say they're a high seed. I wouldn't say they're contenders, but certainly if we're going to go off, could they make the Western Conference Finals? Of course they could. But just seeing them in the contender spot with Milwaukee and Philly, I don't know. It just sits weird with me. Although I'm not going to disagree. I'm not going to sit here and argue they're bad. I think they'll be up there in terms of seeds.
I get it because we've only seen 1 year of this team being awesome.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, we're going to have to see, like, now that they're on the radar, now that they're on the map, and especially now that this team has been as loud and as confident as they've been, they're going to have to back it up this year because there's going to be teams that are ready for them.
Right.
So,
but they're going to be damn good. So I don't want
yeah.
to get that mixed up. They're going to be good.
They're going to be damn good. Now, the Minnesota Timberwolves. These guys went all in. And
Timberwolves fans are like,
and they went out and got Rudy Gobert. And now they have Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, Anthony Edwards. To me, I think this is your like definition of like they're going to be a 4th or 5th seed. I think this is a high seed Western Conference team teetering on mid. However, like if I were to put them in the middle of the pack against other teams in the West, I'm currently feeling more confident about them because of the offensive firepower in Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns. Plus, Rudy Gobert is solid on the defensive end. I wouldn't put him above Dallas or Denver right now because of the star power that they have. And there's levels to this. There just are. But I'd put him on that teetering edge of like that next step or that next tier of the West. Does that make sense?
I have them at a 5th seed, so I can't do high seed. I got to go mid. Great talent, great players. Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, like you said. Gobert does add a unique piece to that, but it reminds me a little bit of Josh Smith and Andre Drummond kind of thing. Not to that, I guess cluster, but I can't see them. I mean, I know you can't either. I can't see them better than Dallas or Denver. And we still haven't even put Phoenix or Golden State on this list. So I'm going to have to go mid.
That's fair. Jeff, what about you? You're the deciding vote on this one.
Yeah, no, the thing that makes me the most frustrated with the Minnesota Timberwolves, I get you acquired Gobert, but Beverly to me is such a significant loss. Now, they're not going to, I think, but to make the tiebreaker, I will say this, they have enough talent. I think you have Anthony Edwards, who's getting better. He's that dude. We understand. I like D'Angelo Russell. I love Karl Anthony Towns. I think he's going to benefit having a true center who could take on all that work down low. Now you can have Karl Anthony Towns just go out and just play offense, man. Just be aggressive. He doesn't have to worry about guarding guys like behemoths in the West now. But I think they're good enough to be a high seed. I'm gonna stick with a high seed. Although I wouldn't be surprised if they slide down. But if you add Gobert, guys are getting better. I love Jaden McDaniels. I think they have a nice, group of guys that they can at least win a ton of games. Maybe like third or 4th seed, somewhere around there. But it depends. I mean, what is mid, really? I mean, the difference between these two teams, I mean, I don't think they're that far. I don't think they're contenders. And I don't know if I'd put them as mid. It's kind of it's a tough decision.
I need to make one more argument because, guys, if you put them at high seed, that means that you believe that they are better than one of these 4 teams, either Golden State, Phoenix, Denver, or Dallas. I just can't say that they're better than any of those teams. To me, they can't be a high seed mathematically. You guys won. I'm the loser talking, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, the seeds. I guess we haven't really thought about where these guys rank.
So I'm looking a little bit at like some of these teams that we have down here that we haven't even mentioned yet. I'm going to change my vote. I'm going to put them at the top of mid.
Thanks.
I think I'm going to have them teetering on high seed to mid. I could see them being a 5th seed, and I don't see them really being much higher than that. So based off of what Troy said, I think based off that alone,
technically it is mid.
I think I'm going to put them at the very front of mid because that is by definition mid. Mm-hmm. Now, San Antonio Spurs, just everything they did this offseason.
No way, yeah.
I would say they're the number 1 front runners for Victor Wembanyama. I think they're going for it.
Yeah, so going for Victor, are we saying number 1 as in worse? Like for the
this is the tier of like this, like the ranking of this really doesn't matter, but like for the sake of conversation, I think this is like your number 1 contender for the number 1 pick.
There's no doubt they're in that spot. I just don't know where we're going are we truly doing winner for Victor up in the left? Because if that's the case, absolutely. But if you're doing who's the better team, I still would pick Indiana over
this
them.
Is this is a special tier.
A special
of its
tier.
own.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
a special tier of its own with its own
Then I'm okay
special
with that.
objectives.
I'm okay with that, Sean.
I mean, because at the end of the day, these guys aren't going for who's better. They're going for who's worse. So they want to know who's doing a better job of that. But Jeff, the Spurs are gonna. I can't fly, dude. Outside of this is a team that I am not going to be able to make an excuse to tune into on League Pass this year. I'm just not.
No, the San Antonio Spurs scream number one odds to land the number one overall pick. So I'm going with the Spurs, definitely for going for Victor.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, another team that feels pretty firm in that position is the Utah Jazz. This is a team that has Donovan Mitchell, and that's it. They just have Donovan Mitchell. I think he's going to play 1v5 this year. But
and
guys,
the janitor.
Danny Ainge wants Victor Wembanyama as well. Their uniforms are terrible. I don't think they deserve much more conversation than this. They're going at the bottom. Are we all in favor of that?
I'm actually
How about
not.
this?
I'm actually not, because I would put them as a 10th, like a 10th seed, which would still be a 10th seed.
I think Donovan's good enough to get them in the play-in. I really do.
Me too. It's 2 against 1.
Okay. All right. Hold on. I understand that. And I like your optimism. But guys.
Now if they trade Donovan?
Yeah. If they trade Donovan, absolutely, Sean, you're right. But I still can't see a Donovan Mitchell on your roster and being a lottery team or like a top 10 lottery team.
First of all,
who's
who's
trade
Mike
Conley?
Let's play. First of all, they're potentially shipping Mike Conley. They've been looking for trade partners for him the entire time as well. Bogdan Bogdanovic, another guy that they're trying to find trade partners for.
Well, that news hasn't been really because they're also trying to trade Donovan Mitchell, but I'm not gonna. I can't say it'll be bad. I don't know.
You guys, dead ass would put them in play-in.
Yeah,
as of today, right now, yes. Yeah,
today,
as of right now, yes.
Maybe not by start of the season because of the reason, Sean. But
they could gut it, Sean. They could. So just leave them at. You could put them at. We could be projecting, but if we're going now, I'll
put them in play-in for now. I'm just saying. Well, if once you do the mental exercise that I just did of looking around here at some teams we have left, I just don't see it. I just don't. But that's your guys' hill to die on, not mine. But anyways,
at the end here, Sean, we should have 8 teams in play-in because, of course, 4 in the East, 4 in the West. So, but go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
That's why I like throwing in.
You're right. That's why I still think you're wrong. Anyway, so then
we're dying on this hill.
Yeah. So then we have the Los Angeles Clippers. I'm going to be straight up with you guys. There's a world where I put them up here, but just for the safety of it, I'm going to put them right in here. And for me, I'm going to put them as the top of the high seed because I think this is a team that if you look at the improvements they made, bringing in guys like Robert to Covington to go alongside, now they have John Wall. So that point guard conversation at least becomes more interesting for them. And then you have Kawhi Leonard. And if he's healthy, is Kawhi freaking Leonard? And if Paul George is healthy, it's another opportunity for these guys to go after it. And the last time we saw Paul George healthy, this team made the Western Conference Finals. So
don't forget,
there's a legitimate chance that this team could go to the finals. So for now, just because we don't know what level of Kawhi we're getting quite yet, I'm going to put them at the verge of high seed contender. But this is to me, of all the teams that can make that jump the quickest to contender, this is the one.
I agree with you. I have nothing more to add than that. I just think a healthy Kawhi always will make you either a high seed or a contender. And I like the little pieces that they have around them. Now, I mean, I'm being very factual with this list, so I might want to change my answer with Dallas because of the Clippers.
Yeah,
to mid. But we don't have to change that. We can keep them in mid. But I
Okay.
like the Clippers more than Denver and Dallas.
Yeah.
I like the Clippers more than Memphis. So if you're going to have Memphis in contenders, because you did say, Sean, you said I could see Memphis going to the Western Conference Finals.
Yep.
They're contenders. But if you could see LA going to the Western Conference Finals, what are they?
I have less, in my opinion, when I'm stacking these two teams up, I have less question marks as a whole about Memphis as far as winning games in the regular season than I do with the Clippers, just sheerly based off of the health stuff with Kawhi, like, you know, with the load management, with Paul George, with some of his stuff in the past. You know, in addition, it's a pretty old roster. So, like, you know, you don't know injury wise what you could be dealing with on a day. Like, and if you're counting on John Wall, like automatically, I'm just putting you lower. Just if you're counting on John Wall.
Well, they made it without John Wall.
I know they did. I know.
So with John, he just has to be. If you want to use the term we're using, mid. He just has to be mid, and I think his team is even better. So, Troy, what's your final answer? You would stick with
the
high seed?
Clippers? Clippers is going to be high seed.
Okay, that's fine. I'm going to say contender, just so we have it on video. I like the Clippers a lot. You can leave them at high seed.
And like I said, there's a world where, like, you know, my initial reaction when I saw the Clippers was I feel like they could be a contender. Like in my opinion, like, let's move right here because I'm about to spoil something for you guys. I'd put the Suns here. Like, based off of where they're
One's got to
now.
Get squeezed up. One of these got to get squeezed up.
One of these
Give me
teams,
the Clippers to squeeze up.
Yes, I'm okay with that.
That's
choice,
what I would do.
Oh, okay, or Dallas to slide down. Either one.
Yeah, listen, that's what I'd do because I think with Phoenix, to me, after everything that happened at how the season ended, I have zero faith that if Chris Paul is healthy, that by the end of the season he's gonna be 100%. And I don't know, as he's getting older, what we're getting out of him. The DeAndre Ayton situation is just weird. The Robert Sarver investigation is still ongoing. The problems that they're dealing with behind the scenes just don't sound to me like the problems of a championship caliber team. I think, if anything, they're going to see him regress this year.
Wow.
What are your guys' thoughts?
Go ahead, Jeff.
I think they'll still win a ton of games. I love Monty Williams as a head coach, number one. And I think the part that I also agree with what you said, Sean, about the Suns, you're relying on DeAndre Ayton to take the next step. I don't know if he will, because Chris Paul, he's only getting older, and Father Time is undefeated. So, and that not because of his game, because of injuries and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see where the Suns land this regular season. I think they'll be another high seed. I would agree with you.
Troy?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just really hard because I do see a world where they are a second or third seed. I really do still see that. And
I do too. But like, just to clarify, here's the thing. I think this is a team that could even be the number one seed in the Western Conference. But when push comes to shove, am I calling them more of a contender than the Clippers right now? No. Am I calling them more of a contender right now than the Grizzlies right now? Personally, no. Am I calling them, and there's other, like the Warriors. Am I calling them more of a contender than the Warriors? Hell no. So
I'm still going to go contender, but you guys win. So I can be wrong on this. But
that's fair. And I don't blame you because they did still make it to the finals a couple years ago. That team is still really great. Devin Booker is incredible. And if he takes another step as a player, is great, but can he be the number one player on a championship team? That's the question. So all I'll say is they did not look super great in the little samplings that we had as far as like against Drew Holiday, but I mean that's a difficult team, right? I mean that finals is a tough series. Now Portland. I mean they're a playing team. This is a team that, like, at its best is in the play-in. I like, there's no scenario with the talent that they have right now that they're above that.
Correct.
Yep.
Like, they're better than
Jeremy Grant, Shaedon Sharpe, Dame. That's fine, Sean. Got nothing to complain.
Yeah, like I'd put them right there, like just above the Wizards, because I think, with Dame, there's just a higher ceiling. Jeremy Grant, I really like what he's going to bring to this team. Shaedon Sharpe, like I don't even know what we're getting out of him this year. So I think for the most part, you're just going to be kind of relying on your veteran pieces. They could still try to make moves, but I don't really know what moves there are to make. I mean, they brought back Nurkic, which is cool. But like, other than that, like, I don't really know what the plan is there. Now, Sacramento Kings.
Absolutely.
Number one contenders. No.
Keegan Murray, MVP.
They're going for Vic. That's my vote.
What's that?
They're going for Victor.
Yeah, I'm going for Victor.
I do.
Wow.
Wait, okay, Troy.
Hold on. Hold on. No. I am not being told that there is a world that we're ranking the Sacramento Kings roster where it is currently constructed above below the Utah Jazz. I get they have Donovan Mitchell, but like De'Aaron Fox isn't exactly far off.
Sabonis, Harrison, Keegan.
Okay. I forgot about Fox.
They're a better rock. Like I'm still disgusted the Jazz are on this level.
I'm just looking at New Orleans, and I still have New Orleans better than them. And I have the Kings actually better than the Lakers. So
we'll
I'm
get
okay
to
with
New Orleans in a second, but I mean, if you have New Orleans down here, I think you're playing a mistake. We'll get to them in a minute. But
okay.
But the Kings?
Sure. I'll change my answer. Playing.
If I were to go, I'd put the Kings right here. Like, I think they're going to be better than the Wizards. But like, I don't think I think they'll be like, I don't have as much faith in them in a playing game as I do Dame. Like, they're facing the Kings. It's Dame time, mother hugger. You know what I mean? Like, that's what's going to happen. That's just how it's going to go. But I mean, reports suggest, Matt George out in Sacramento, I saw him say the Kings are all in on the playoffs this year. So they want to make it happen. So at the very least, I think they'll be on the outside looking in on the play-in.
And so they could be like the 2017 Pistons with, we didn't make the playoffs, but we were the 9th seed kind of thing. Yeah. There's a world where that could happen.
Yeah, for sure. Now, the New York Knicks. The New York Knickerbockers. These guys mortgaged the farm.
God.
And paid the most expensive contract in NBA history for a guy that's never even made an All-Star team. I liked Jalen Brunson, but y'all can recollect, I did not like Jalen Brunson for this amount of money.
We both didn't. We all did.
Our literal joke was, when we talked about Jalen Brunson and the Pistons, was go have New York pay him the money. And guess what literally happened?
You know what I think their prize is? I think it's another trip to the play-in.
Yeah.
I think they're just a firm Eastern Conference play-in team to me. Like, they're just right in that. They could be a little better. Like, they could conceivably go get Donovan Mitchell. If they go do that, they're a team that is mid to me. But their ceiling isn't higher to me than mid. And their floor is certainly not going for Victor. So with Tibbs, with everything they have, like, all jokes aside, like, to me, this is like a firm either on the bubble for a play-in or in the play-in. What are your guys' thoughts?
I have them below Portland. I would have Portland above the Knicks, but I still wouldn't. Yeah, I'd have them right there. But yeah, I think you have a good point, Sean. Brunson doesn't put him that much over the hump. It's interesting. I'm going to be very curious to what we do with some of those other teams that we haven't done yet with, Charlotte and even Detroit and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm okay with that, Sean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How about you, Jeff?
That's typical Knicks fashion, right? Like, have all these off-season moves, mediocre.
Yep.
And that's kind of how I feel about it as well. Their ceiling, you said it perfectly. Their ceiling is mid, and their floor is play-in. Like, there's not really room there to breathe. I'm gonna go play-in. I agree.
Yeah.
Shout out to Knicks fans.
Yep. Now, the New Orleans Pelicans. I think there's a world where they're up here. I think there's a world where they're down here.
Mhm.
So that's why, in my opinion, if I'm going off of my gut reaction, I'm going to put them right in mid. I'm going to go right down the middle because I think with if Zion is in, if Zion's in the shape that we've been seeing him in this summer, I mean, with the roster that they have around him, with the defensive pieces they have, Dyson Daniels is as awesome as people
Herbert
believe he can be.
Jones. Don't forget about Herbert Jones.
Herb Jones, man. I mean, Zion and Herb Jones on a court together, dude. Forget about it, man.
Guys, the league is deep. Like every team we've talked about, besides our two little Victor teams down here, I can think of 2 to 3 guys who are impactful players, who winners, winning players. The league is deep, and this list is really hard, guys. Like I'm having a hard time with this. I'm having a fun time with this, but man, oh man, when we get even deeper of who's higher than who in mid and playing, that's when it gets tough, guys. But this is a lot of fun, and I can't wait to continue doing this.
Yeah, I'm going to put them in mid, and if I'm going to rank them right now, I'm going to put them above the Cavs, below the Hawks. I think the Hawks, I think the Pelicans have a higher ceiling than the Hawks. But I think the Hawks have more of a proven track record of history in the playoffs. All we've seen out of the Pelicans so far was a good play-in run, but we still have to see them put all the pieces together with Zion on the court. So, Jeff, what about you, my man?
I would agree with you. I also wouldn't be surprised if New Orleans is better than all of those teams as well. And in the West, specifically, if Dallas first, I think they can be even better than Dallas. So it's a tough one to predict, but yeah, mid's perfect for them. I agree.
Yeah. Now, again, I think if we're talking about a team that could really make a spike on this list, the New Orleans Pelicans are a team that's in for a breakout season, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And a team that's going in the opposite direction, the Charlotte Hornets. In my opinion,
transition. Man.
In my opinion, they're going for Victor. I mean, listen, man. Yeah. When you look at, I mean, what a disaster you have in Charlotte right now. I mean, first of all, bringing back Steve Clifford when he was your coach a few years ago, didn't really see much success under Steve Clifford. The guy's not a bad head coach, but I mean, guys, can we be honest about it? He's not an inspiring head coach either. I mean, he was in Orlando those couple years where they were like an 8th seed in the playoffs, and he gets guys to play hard, but for the most part, I mean, this is a cheap head coach hire, for lack of better terms. They still kind of have to fill out their roster. Miles Bridges could be in prison. I don't really know if he's ever going to have an NBA career again. And now a guy that you were supposed to have paired with LaMelo for years to come is just gone off the roster. This team's going to blow chunks this year.
Yeah. A really bad
they're going to blow chunks this year. And the only thing that can really put them in the play-in is if LaMelo really takes a Ja or Luka leap in his 3rd year. But guys, as much as I like LaMelo as a prospect, I don't think he's that guy. I think he's a guy that's going to be a solid all-star throughout his career, but won't ever win a championship. So that's just my sense. What are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, this summer sucked. It sucked. It was the worst summer they could have possibly had. I agree with you. Losing Bridges was, man, it sucks because he's a Michigan guy. We love him, he's Spartan, but holy smokes! And
you can't even blame that's not even criticizing Charlotte that's, if anything, good on them for not signing that contract.
Right, but even a guy like Gordon Hayward won't impact your team in any level with the depth that we have, and certainly Mace Plumlee won't either.
You're kind of in a situation where you truly can make an argument that their best bet is to try and ship off some of their pieces. Like, like for example, specifically, I look at a guy like Terry Rozier. Like, can you see if you can get some form of value for him on the open market? What would a team possibly do? Or like, what could they possibly get out of a Gordon Hayward trade for like a 1-year rental? You know what I mean? Like certain things like that. I just wonder what kind of moves they can make. But I mean, there's nothing Charlotte's going to do, in my opinion, that's going to salvage your season. I think they're going to be terrible. I think
agree.
like absolutely terrible. Houston Rockets, if you want my honest opinion, I think they got better, but I'm gonna put them right on the verge of, I don't think they're good enough. I think if they had Paolo, I think the outlook for this year would be different. However, I think Jabari Smith Jr. kind of showed where he's at in his stage of his development. And I think he's going to need some time to really get used to the NBA game. I think they still don't have that natural playmaker. And so with that, I still think they're going to have a lot of things to figure out. However, I like their outlook going forward, but for now, I still think they're going to be in the lottery. So any disagreements on that?
No. And Jalen Green hasn't showed yet. Not saying he won't. But to be able to, do everything for your team and lead them into a possible play-in. They have a young backcourt too, which again isn't really like, they're both shoot first guys that Kevin Porter Jr. can pass, but they're going to be high ball usage rate guys. It's a weird situation in Houston. I don't really like their head coach either. I think they'll still be bottom of the West, unfortunately for them.
Yeah.
Well, kind of fortunately, if you end up getting a good player, who knows?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, imagine if that Houston team gets the number 1 pick, and then get to go at Victor.
Future's looking bright.
Yeah, I mean that's a freaking jackpot right there. So
yes, sir.
I mean, so just keep playing that lottery game for them. No reason not to. The Miami Heat,
first team in the high seed. That's where I'm for the East.
That is exactly where I would put them. I would go. Of this, I'd go right here. I'd put them, honestly.
I was going to say, I like Denver over Miami.
Yeah, honestly, listen, man, as good as this team was last year, and as much as they pushed Boston, they lost PJ Tucker. They don't have the trade packages to go get a star.
No.
They're going to be a second-round team this year, if that.
Yep.
Like this to me feels like an Atlanta Hawks of a decade ago, where like they could end up towards the top of the East, and you're like, cool. What are you going to do in the playoffs? Absolutely nothing. So it feels like a good place.
And I love Jimmy, but he needs help. And I love Bam, but unless they add Donovan Mitchell, they're still a high seed. I don't think they'll make it to the NBA Finals. So perfect place for them, high seed.
Are you guys ready for my most controversial one yet, perhaps, for you guys?
Ooh, yeah, I can't wait.
I think the Bulls are at the bottom of mid, teetering on play-in. I think, first of all, here's one piece. We still don't know when Lonzo's coming back. We have no clue about his knee. Apparently, he's had setbacks in his rehab. Still don't have a timetable for return. So that's not great. Zach LaVine signed his contract, which is great. But if you're really gonna try to push and get DeMar DeRozan to play like that again, you're gonna be far closer to the play-in than you're gonna be in the top of the Eastern Conference. But in addition, the way the season went to end the year, that team was way different the second half than they were the first half. And the team that they were in the second half was not nearly as promising. So, to me,
I agree. Yeah.
To me, they're just like they're the essence of mid. I could see a world where they could be a 4th seed, but like to me, the 5th or 6th seed, perhaps even 7th seed, feels like it's calling their name to me.
I would still have them above Cleveland, in my opinion, but for every reason you said, I mean, they had such a bad end to their regular season, and to play that Milwaukee team in the first round and to get bounced like they did, I don't think that's extremely controversial, Sean. I'm there.
That and if losing Alex Caruso for as long as they did is that detrimental to your season, I would argue that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jeff,
Absolutely.
any opposition on that?
No, Troy kind of hit it on the head. I think I agree with everything you guys said. I just also would put them above Cleveland just because they have more proven talent. Not to say Mobley can't take a giant step next year. I just like DeMar, Vucevic. If healthy, I like the roster. But yeah, they're their definition of mid. Like they're right around all those teams. Atlanta, every one of them in the East. So put them.
Yep, I agree with that. The Nets, the hardest team to predict.
Yeah, by far the hardest.
Let's put them towards the end. Let's do the Pistons before them, and I think from there, just based on where we're seeing the rest of the league, we'll predict on where we could see Brooklyn being based on where they're at with like the trade situation. Does that sound good?
Yeah,
let's do it.
Let's come back to that one because I think there's more interesting conversations to have. Now the Thunder, I think they're going to be good this year. I think they're going to be fun. I still think they're going to be on the low end of the lottery, high end, like low end of the play-in, high end of the lottery. I think
like
they'll get like another mid
in the West. Yeah.
I think they'll get like another like top 7 or top 8 pick to add to their repertoire, and then they'll have like another 9 picks in the first round, so they'll just have the back half of the lottery. But no, like I think they'll be good, but I mean, again, I just think they still have a lot more work to do to get to the play-in, and quite frankly, I think they'll do what the Thunder do every year, which is shut down Shea 2/3 of the way, shut down Giddey 3/4 of the way, and then shut down Chet before the final month. Because that's what Oklahoma City does. They eventually put their G League roster out there for all of us to watch. So, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay.
Aye.
There we go. All right. Another one I think will be pretty easy.
Yeah. These next two, like, we don't even need to talk about it.
Like, I think I'd go that. I think I would go that.
Okay, I agree, but I
think the contenders. As far as the contenders goes, like I'm putting Golden State. I'm not putting them above Philly. To me, like these are the number 1 teams in each conference. Like the number 1 team in the East and the number 1 team in the West until proven otherwise.
Yeah,
is that fair to say?
I tell you, I never thought of that finals matchup, but oh my goodness, would that be a fun NBA Finals?
Oh, Bucks Warriors would be phenomenal. Seth versus Giannis, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord. We that would be unreal. But Jeff, are you opposing of that at all? Do you think that's
no, not where they're ranked? Maybe you can make an argument they're better than Philly, but honestly, it doesn't matter. Like they're all contenders. So no, I had no argument here. I like it.
I'm going solely based off of on paper right now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And I think my thing is I have my concerns with Boston, and I think some of it is like that some of the health that they faced throughout throughout their playoff run. I kind of wonder what's going to happen with a healthy Eastern Conference this year, specifically like what happens if Drew Holiday is available. Like do the Boston Celtics still move on? I don't know, but I mean they're still great. They could still get to the finals. But to me, that's just where they belong right now. If I were to rank it right now based off of where they should be, that's what I see. But the Los Angeles Lakers. Now,
we might have different answers for this one. It'll be
think we do.
I would go mid because I think that if LeBron and Anthony Davis are on the court more than they were than last year, they're automatically better than they were. I think they're at the very least with what we've seen, even with Anthony Davis's health the year before, they still made it to the play-in. Mm-hmm. So like a LeBron James led team should inherently be a playoff team, right? However, even if they make a move, like the 5th seed to me is their ceiling. Like I think 6th or 7th seed somewhere in there is kind of more likely where they're going to end up. I don't see Anthony Davis being on the court the entire season. I'm not buying into all this hype that people are buying into, especially when you hear reports that Anthony Davis hasn't touched a basketball for 3 months at the beginning of the summer again. So, I mean, listen, man, I guess I'm not buying Anthony Davis stock until I see otherwise. So, but what are
I'm
your
even
guys'
going to
thoughts?
go a step below. I'm going to go play in. I just feel like a 7th or 8th seed is their ceiling, to be honest, not a 5th. We just haven't seen this roster do it yet. Now, we've seen a LeBron James, Anthony Davis team win a finals, but that was 2 years ago. But I feel like a guy like Westbrook, theoretically on paper, should make your team better. But it's making it worse because you got to facilitate the ball and touches and egos. I can't. I see a 7th seed as their ceiling. Can't do it. Can't do mid.
I disagree. I think they're a mid because of what Sean said. But on top of that, guys, they added Lonnie Walker and Thomas Bryant, like 2 guys that I like a lot. I think you need more depth in LA. And not only that, if you can just keep, like you said, Sean, Anthony Davis and LeBron James on the court. And I get the disaster it was with Russell Westbrook, but now it's the second year. Like, you're hoping something clicks. I don't know. I'm not saying they're going to be contenders, but I think they're good enough to at least win, somewhere between, like, all the rest of these teams in the West, near that mid-range. So I'm going mid.
To me, it was the fact that he went, but guys, they added Lonnie Walker and Thomas. I was like,
I like those pieces. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah. I mean, they're good pieces.
They're both double-digit scores. Like, I like
they're
that.
They're better role players than what they had last year.
Mm-hmm.
Just inherently. I know Carmelo's still kind of figuring out what the heck he wants to do. I don't think he's coming back to the Lakers. The Kyrie situation is all but not happening. Really, the best chance that they have to improve their roster before this season is to make that trade with the Pacers and go get Miles Turner and Buddy Hield, which they should have gotten Buddy Hield a year ago. But I agree with you in the sense that I think they're mid and I think they're more up here. I just think for me, I think the reasoning's more with the star power that they have. I don't really know if I'm still not confident in the roster that they have around them. To me, it just hasn't changed. It's just the one thing that, like, I just can't picture LeBron being worse. And I just can't picture LeBron missing the playoffs 2 years in a row. And I can't, and even with Anthony Davis, even with some of the doubt I have, you got to think he's going to at least be more available next year. You got to think he's going to at least be more motivated going into next season.
Right. And I used Lonnie Walker and Thomas Bryant. Like, if you have this team who's in the play-in without those guys, and you add a guy in Lonnie Walker who gave you 12 points last year a game, and then you add Thomas Bryant, who, when he was healthy, is a 14-8 guy. Like, I think those pieces also help them a little bit. It doesn't propel them to contender status, but if you're a 9th seed, I think they can jump to a 6th seed. It's a little better. So they're still mid.
Yeah, it's just when you get to how players actually like win shares and win equity and all that kind of stuff, it's hard to actually predict how many wins a player adds to their team.
Right.
So, as far as going from it's just tough, but I certainly, to your point, they're deeper for sure. And I have more faith in guys like Lonnie Walker than I do in Trevor Ariza. But on the other hand, they did also lose Malik Monk this offseason, which was a big piece for them. It felt like a lot of times when their offense couldn't get going, he was a guy that could come in and play a lot of minutes. And you're still going to be asking Stanley Johnson to play a lot of key minutes for you next year. So anytime you're in that situation, is it fair to say that they're at the bottom of mid?
Oh yeah. Okay. I don't think they're better than New
I
Orleans.
still have them playing, but yeah.
Yeah, that's why I put them bottom mid. Because if they were in the play-in, I think they'd be somewhere around here. But
I think they have more talent than those teams, so that's probably why I would go mid.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now the Magic, I'm gonna put them in here. I think Paolo's gonna be solid. I like the roster that they have building, but they feel like they're gonna still want to go get some guys to put around Paolo in the draft next year. So I don't see them in a world where they're gonna be near the play-in my opinion. But they're going to be good. They'll be fun to watch, but they're still going to be one of the bottom teams in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion.
Yeah. 28 down, 2 to go.
You guys agree with that placing? You guys go with where the Magic are?
Yeah, and yes, I agree with you, and it'll lead to other. Go on, and it all makes sense when we talk about this next team.
Now the Detroit Pistons. If I were to say how I would do the rest of this list, this is how I would do it. I'd go Pistons here. I'd go Jazz here. I'd go Nets up here. And the reason why I do it that way, I think the Pistons can very much be in the play-in picture. I think they're a team that's very solid in the Eastern Conference. I just realized, I know the play-in's 8 teams, so like maybe if you want to keep the Jazz up here, just for your guys' sake, fine. Just for math, we can. However, I mean, I think the Pistons are going to be teetering on the play-in. I think they're on the verge of being in that mix. And I believe in them, man. I really do. I think Cade is going to take a leap. I think what we've talked about with this team, I think this is ideally where they want to be. Now, ultimately, if they're still in a position where they could be in the lottery, like that still puts them around like 7th, 8th pick. So it's not a terrible place to be, but I think they'll still be competitive.
Can I propose, before you answer, Troy, this is what I struggle with, because we're right on about the same timeline as now, I don't know about the future, but right now with the core they're building, you have the Magic, the Rockets, and the Thunder. Couldn't I make an argument that, and I love Cade, and maybe he's the reason why they propel into a play-in tournament, but correct me if I'm wrong, the West is worse than the East. And if we have these teams in going for victor in the West, the Pistons, they might strike gold and win more games and make the play-in, but this isn't teetering. Are they making the play-in or not? It's a decision you have to make. I'm going to say they won't, although they could. I'm not saying I'm not going to be a hater, but it's just tough for me to say Oakland. Like, I love the Thunder too. Like, I really love what they're building, and the West is a little bit worse. So,
but Jeff, can I ask you a question? Would you rank the Utah Jazz today above the Detroit Pistons?
No, no, I wouldn't. I would not do that. You don't spin my Jazz take back on me, because I will not do that. No,
because you guys were so adamant and hell-bent.
But they play in the
This
West.
was a freaking dynasty.
They play in the West.
It had to be in the play-in.
Yeah. No, Sean, Jeff's right. The West. We're talking about the West versus the East.
Is like 9 deep. I mean, it's tough to make a real like the Knicks are in the play-in, and the Knicks are, I think, a little ahead of where the Pistons are.
So is this how you would have it then?
I mean, I think they're better than some of those play-in teams, but I think they're I don't know. I hate the word going for victor. See, now it comes back to the Pistons. It's like we're tanking, but I could see them missing the play-in. They could win 30 games and still miss the play-in.
So you
35.
could see them being a low lottery, high, low lottery, just out of the play-in. Like that's kind of where you see them at when it's all
could be.
Yes,
yes, I could see that.
Now,
Jeff, who knows? Cade could take a jump and be an immediate superstar in this team's play-in, but just from what I've seen with the rest I'm trying to make comparisons with other cores. So yes, I'm going there. I think they're better than a lot of those teams. I think they're better than the Pacers, but they still kind of are in that range.
Now, Troy, you're the tiebreaker.
Yeah. You see, I put them better than Washington, like you, Sean. But I think the hard part is I don't think the direction or the culture that we're trying to build is a 13th pick in the draft, because that's really would be picking. You mentioned 7th or 8th seed or 7th or 8th pick in the draft. No, if we're going on this timeline, we're a 12th or 13th pick in the draft. And I just don't see Troy Weaver preaching that to the team. I don't see Dwayne Casey.
Well, I see us going for a play-in as well. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying, but it's like, we could just miss that and still be in within the top 10 of the draft. Like, that's not unforeseen.
Sure. I have them better than the Wizards. So Sean, I just, as much as Jeff has amazing points, and maybe this is just my bias, but I do have them better than Washington and Utah. Therefore I have them as a play-in team.
Yeah, that's fair. How about
understandably?
Yeah, it is understandable.
It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. We got to wait for the season to come. And that's not me. I'm trying to be real. I'm trying to be looking at it from a 400-foot view. Not saying you guys aren't. I'm just saying I'm trying to be devil's advocate, if you will. Like, I'm trying to provide another point of this, because we can all sit here and gas up the Pistons. That would be the easy thing to do. I could sit here and say, well, Jaden Ivey's going to be dynamic in his rookie year, and Sadiq Bey is going to take that next step, and Cade is going to be a top 5 NBA player this year. I just don't. It's too much to go right. It really is.
That's fair. It's just the fact that Troy caught me sneakily put the Jazz right down.
You're changing the election results, Sean. What are you doing?
This team is gonna suck, man. Their roster's so bad. Like, do you understand what they're putting out there to compete in the Western Conference this next year? Can I read you this roster? Nikhil Alexander Walker,
so our fans
Bojan Bogdanovic, Jordan Clarkson, Donovan Mitchell. Great. Udoka Azubuike, Malik Beasley, Rudy Gay, Mike Conley, Jared Vanderbilt, and it just gets to mid from there. Like, it's all rookies or like freaking undrafted. It's such a bum roster, man. I don't get it, but I mean, okay, I guess here we go. It's where they belong. Oh my gosh. No, but all right. So the way we have the list right now, if we were to look at it like this, if we're putting like the Pistons like right on this edge right here, because I'm with you, Jeff. I think I would put them either kind of like they're
in the between. I think I like them where you have them. Like they're right
to me,
there.
This is like down here is like this is not definitive. This is kind of on the edge. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So these teams are over here. Like, to me, it's like you can make a case like the Spurs are definitely tanking, right? The Jazz, like, I could see your argument for how they could still, like, if Donovan Mitchell's awesome this year, how they could overcome. To me, they're still going to be in the Victor Wembanyama camp, but that's just me. But overall, looking at the way that we have it right now, are we good to lock it in? Is this our tier going into the season that we're predicting?
Yep.
Yeah.
So with this?
I'm cool with that.
All right.
Cool.
So to recap, we have the contenders which is interesting that we have more contenders than high seeds, by the way.
Yeah, it is cool.
It's interesting how that ended up. Tells you how deep the NBA is, by the way.
It's stacked, man. A lot of good teams.
Yeah. And you could make an argument that this team could be up here as well. You could make that argument. After they lost by 50 to Luka in the playoffs. I ain't making that argument, but so we got so in the contenders, we have the Milwaukee Bucks, the Golden State Warriors, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Boston Celtics, and the Memphis Grizzlies. In the high seeds, we have the Clippers, the Suns, the Nuggets, and the Heat. In the mid tier, we got the Mavericks, the Timberwolves, the Hawks, the Pelicans, the Bulls, the Cavs, and the Lakers. In the play-in tier, we got the Nets, the Raptors, the Trailblazers, the Knicks, the Kings, the Wizards, and the Pistons. And then going for Victor Wembanyama, we got the Spurs, the Hornets, the Pacers, the Magic, the Rockets, the Thunder, and the Jazz. Guys, how are we feeling about this list?
I look forward to screenshotting this on Wednesday and retweeting it and asking Pistons fan community what they think of our tier. Because I think the subscribers we got, the following we have on Twitter, I could see this list trending, at least in Pistons community, of disagree or agree. I think we're going to have a lot of haters, and I think we're going to have a lot of supporters with this list. I really do.
Overall, I feel like this is a pretty down the middle, objective, fair list. Jeff, where do you land with where we're at right now? How do you feel about this list?
I don't mind it because people have to think too. We're all compromising. Like, this is collectively what we think. Although I might like the Clippers, and you know, different people, like, you might feel higher on the Grizzlies than I am. We all compromise. This is what we've came up with, so I'm confident with it. I like it
as a group collective prediction. I'm pretty happy on this.
Oh yeah, me too. I like this list.
Yeah. Now I will say, I'd put the Jazz more towards the Spurs on the going for Victor, but that's like you said.
Are you ranking because we forgot to rank the Victor? I guess they're all just bottom tier teams because the Spurs technically are the best out of all. Yeah,
so to me, like, we could really go down the semantics if you want of like where
but
they
just
rank.
Throw them in a pit.
Yeah, but to me, if I were to rank it, like, I kind of was doing that all. So to me, if I were to go like the worst teams in the league, I'd go with the Spurs to start. Maybe you could shift the Pacers here. I think the Hornets and these guys will kind of be similar. I think you could make the argument that Houston maybe be really bad as well. Maybe like kind of hover
I say
around there.
Pacers better than Hornets.
Yeah, it's tough though, because on the other hand, at least the Hornets have that star caliber player in LaMelo,
Sure.
right? I mean,
Are you-
like they have Tyrese Halliburton, which is solid, but like they just don't have star power.
And you're going right to left
So no,
Left,
so
yes, yes.
I'm
because
going.
the Spurs are the worst team. Like there, I think.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So like as far as how I had it here, so like the contenders, like this is the best of like what they're going for. So like this is like the top of the contenders. This is the top of the tanking teams. Like this is like the team that's primed
Gotcha.
going for victory.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Theoretically, this is our mock draft for 2023 as far as first pick to seventh pick, right?
Yep.
We could say that. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So
I'm cool with it.
yeah, I think it's pretty solid. What do you think of our ranking? Let us know in the comment section down below. Now I know that normally Troy, we normally go down from Mount Rushmore to end this episode. However, this one, I was expecting this to be a shorter one, and we went an hour and a half. So holy, but guys, I thought this was really fun. I think this is a good exercise. And I think what we should do is not put me as the only person in the video, but also, but in addition, I think what we should do is at the end of the season, I think we should go back and revisit this around the playoff
Definitely.
time and look at where we had teams and where that actually ended up and see how we feel.
Man,
because-
were we wrong and man, were we right on some of them? I assume is going to be. what we're
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about, so.
I mean, I think overall, I'm pretty happy with where this was. I
Mhm.
think this is going to look pretty resembling to like where we actually think teams will be. But
Definitely.
the only way you're going to find out is by tuning in each and every week, because this is From Half Court, where each and every week we do talk all things NBA basketball. If you liked this episode, you like this a little bit of a different concept we did, be sure you like this video, subscribe. But also be sure that you're following and subscribing to all of these guys on Twitter and on YouTube and everything they're doing with Jeff, with the Jeff and Gentry show, also on his Twitter as well. And then you got my guy Troy at Troy Sergey 44 on Twitter, and then myself at Sean Half Court. That's going to do it today, folks. So we thank you so much for tuning in. We will catch you guys next time from Half Court. Be sure to subscribe.